Angry guy here, and foreign women are now mocking broke women. Foreign women are now mocking broke women. Let's just go ahead and jump right into this comment from Mayumi. So, Mayumi is our favorite doctor and resident troll. She says, "You hear that? It's the happy sound of satisfaction that Western women played themselves in response to, that women are going broke. They are falling into loneliness and despair. And of course, Mayumi has no sympathy for them. She responds, I love it. I did everything right, and I own what I have. I own what I want, and I have a family, land, and a legacy." Now, this is not the only comment she left. I didn't bother to dig the other ones out, but she also left some other comments where she said that she owned a Fiat, I believe. So she's basically living within her means. Her husband owns a security company where he has like 100 employees that are like ex-military, and they're basically a militia. This is madness, guys. This is some insane stuff. Absolutely insane stuff. And he drives around in like a 1965 Land Rover. I was like, what? So they have 3 kids, to my understanding. She has her daughter, her son that they're going to send to Japan probably, because children shouldn't be raised here in America anymore. And then they also have an adopted daughter that they took in, which is really awesome. I hope that works out for them. A little girl that they will be adopting. And it's just unbelievable. It's pretty insane. This is kind of the moment that a lot of women were waiting for. I am always like kind of surprised by Mayumi's English skills because I've looked at some of the things that she's written to me, and I have a master's. I have 2 masters. I have 2 masters. I'm a PhD dropout. Like, actually, so I've dropped out of like 2 or 3 different doctorate programs in my life. I am definitely a 100% dropout. It's amazing how much advanced education I have, considering how much I've like never bothered to complete. I look at her English, and her English really surprises me, especially how good she is with English puns. What's really startling is how well she writes, because you can tell how well you can think about what someone thinks and formulates their sentences and their words based on how they write. And her English I would say her writing is at the very least on par with mine. And I had to write a thesis, which is basically a book. It's basically a book, and and present, when I earned one of my masters. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of just how well you have to have mastered the English language. I can write and read pretty well. And I look at the way that she writes and her grammar, and her grammar is absolutely excellent. You know, there are, of course, are always going to be people who are like sticklers for this and that, but I'm constantly shocked with her English, considering that she's native Japanese and how well she's adapted. So it's kind of intriguing. I bring that up because so many American women can't really speak very well, and they can't really write very well. Like their English, especially in the African American community, it's like the women in that community, they struggle with English. Not all, of course, women who are have an education, but a lot of them do struggle with English. They write poorly, they read poorly, they speak poorly. And it's intriguing where you have these foreign women where their first language is not English. Some of them, their first language is English. For example, in the Philippines, they speak English. The children speak English. They watch television English. They grow up with English. That's one of their languages. That's one of their primary languages. In Singapore, English is their primary language. Just call it their primary language. Singapore, they all speak English. In many Asian countries, they speak English, straight English. Even in Thailand, a lot of people speak English. But in some Asian countries, like one of the primary languages is English. And they speak more English than they do anything in some of these countries. But in Japan, for a Japanese person to speak English at this level, it's just absolutely ridiculous. S to the B, Soraya, she actually points out that like when guys go to Germany, they worry like, oh, am I going to be able to speak the language? And she said, don't worry about it. Everybody speaks English here. She's like, they all speak English in Germany. And it's very interesting because every German person I've ever met in my entire life. I took a German woman on a coffee date once. She was actually a stewardess. I just met her. I was like, let me take you for coffee. And that was that. And of course, she spoke English. I was traveling in Mexico, ran into some random dude, and we were just start talking. He was from Germany. He spoke perfect English. Everyone I've ever, it's not just even that. Like I've worked with like different people who lived in Germany for years, and I never really thought about it. Even some high school students, like the students in high school, spoke perfect English. I've never known anyone from Germany that did not speak English. I'm sure they exist, but I've never met anyone from Germany who did not speak English. Everyone I've known has always spoken English. Even the people who told me like, "Oh, I'm worried about my English." Like they speak perfect English. They speak such good English and they like then move to the US and then go working. And it's like, "What, dude, you speak perfect English." So yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of the world speaks English. That's not to say that you should not learn other languages when you go overseas, especially if you're living in another country. You should always learn the language because that's going to let you get what you're supposed to get. That's going to let you know what's really going on. And I've always said that Spanish is a language. It's not a second language. Spanish is a primary language. Everyone in the world should know Spanish because it's the most spoken language in the world. People say Mandarin is the most spoken language in the world. No, it's not. It's a language spoken by the most number of people in the world in China, but it is not the most spoken language in the world because the world is made up of way more countries than just China. Okay? If we're talking about as all the countries in the world, out of all the countries in the world, yeah, it's Spanish. Spanish is the most spoken language in the world, not Mandarin. Mandarin is simply spoken by the most number of people in the world. But guys, this is crazy stuff. Like, foreign women are mocking these broke women right now. I talked about this. I've mentioned this in numerous videos already where the well-being of young women has fallen significantly. It's absolutely crazy that this is the first time since people born in 1928, though it's the first time in modern history in almost 100 years where women, and not even that women that are who are young, women between the ages of women who are Gen Z and millennial women, so women who are 14, right? So women who are as young as like 14 through 42, women between the ages of 14 and 42 are passing away at rates higher than women born in 1928. That's almost 100 years ago. So women between the ages of roughly 14, between 14 and 42 are passing away at rates higher than women born in 1928. And not only that, but their quality of life has significantly declined. So their quality of life has declined very, very is declined rapidly and is continuing to decline rapidly. As you can see here, millennial women are facing the first decline in well-being since the silent generation. Those are women born in 1928. And it's crazy because this generation between millennials and Gen Z, these people they have the highest number of college degrees. They have they're entering the workforce at higher rates than men, and yet their quality of life is lower than a woman who was born in 1928. And things are not necessarily better for American women today than they were for their mothers and grandmothers, according to this new report. In recent years, the most important makers of women's safety and health have declined, the data showed. And so the PRB created an index of women's well-being, identifying factors that best indicated the general status of poverty, education, incarceration, political representation, physical and mental health, and participation in the labor force. The index was created to compare the status of different generations of US women at the same stage of life around the ages of 25 to 34. While there have been some areas of generation to generation improvement, millennials are the first generation of women since the so called silent generation who are seeing declines in overall well being based on the index, said a lead author of the report, Sarah Siri Guiley, a research analyst at Population Reference Bureau, a nonprofit organization that collects population data on health and well being. The silent generation was born between 1928 and 1945, living through the Great Depression and World War II. According affordable quality healthcare is particularly a problem in rural communities for women such as Tyler Azor, a 28-year-old mother. Often doctors will come into town to pay off their student loan debt and then move on to bigger. So, looking at the progress and the decline, there was a sharp progress in health, safety, education, and employment from the silent generation to baby boomer women. Progress slowed somewhat for Gen X compared to their mothers, but then things began to stall in 2017. She added, in the updated report, we saw that is no longer stalled, but is now actively in decline for millennials. The rate of women being deleted among millennial women has increased compared to Gen X. Of course, so more millennial women are being deleted from society than Gen X women, according to the data. And in terms of self-deletion rates, so women deleting themselves from reality, those rates have nearly doubled from Gen Xers to millennials. So the rates of millennial women self-deleting is about twice the rates of Gen X women deleting, and maternal maternal mortality rates have risen dramatically, the report showed. The disparities in health and well being are even greater for women of color, the data indicated. So, Black women in the United States are passing away at alarmingly high rates. White women are already passing away at extremely high rates and they're deleting themselves at extremely high rates, and they're passing away at extremely high rates. But the frightening thing is Black women are even passing away at even faster rates and higher rates than white women, who are already seeing massive increases. So this is all insane. And they're trying to say that this is because women are doing this because they don't have access to, universal uh, facilities that allow them to delete and terminate unwanted gestations now, which is absolutely insane. That is not the reason. And of course, they're going to blame men for this. Women need a seat at the table. So they're saying that women don't have enough political representation also. When it comes to the trend of well-being around for women, particularly women of color, experts want to see more access and more inclusive decision making. When we talk about health, it is our ability to access preventative care. It's our ability to afford preventative care and routine care for chronic conditions, and our ability to afford mental health when it comes to mental health crises. When it comes to addressing these problems, women should be including in the decision making. But here's the thing, guys. When it comes to policy management, the people who are making all of these decisions are women. The people who are planning healthcare promotions are all women. Women are the ones who are in charge of all of this. Men essentially have no seat at the table anymore. Most doctors in the United States are now women. Most people who are attending medical school are now women. The nursing field is, by vast majority, it's like 90% women. The medical field as a whole is now moving towards 75 to 80% being entirely women, and that number is steadily rising. Eventually we'll have something like 90 to 95% of the medical field being completely women. So guys, as women make more inroads and they are already in immense positions of power. In many fields, they completely dominate the entire field. When it comes to the healthcare system, more money is spent on reproductive health for dogs every year than men. Let me repeat this again. More money is spent on reproductive health care, correction. Well, yes, that too, but reproductive research for dogs. More money is spent on reproductive research for dogs than men every year. This is how poorly men are treated in the US. This is how little the focus is on men. The vast majority of the healthcare field is focused around women. If men ever tried to behave like women and utilize the healthcare system the way women do, the healthcare system would absolutely collapse. So women have it better than they've ever had it, and better than they can ever have it. They have everything. Everything is focused on them. And there's billions and billions of dollars being poured in. And their response to this is, it's still not enough. We need more. But how much more do you need? It's like, what you guys, they don't seem to understand that the well-being of women is declining because women no longer have the family unit. They completely live off the government now. They have to they're turning to big daddy government for everything. With the loss of the family has decreased their well-being. This is why Filipinas focus on their family, because they know that their survival is based around the family. Women are living these very difficult lives. Well, I shouldn't say difficult, but very not so good lives. They don't eat well, they don't sleep well, they don't live well, and they're living off men through dates and and trying to extract wealth and resources using the family court system and the M2 movement. And this is not a good life. It's a bad life. It's a bad way of living. Only fools and lonely fans, you get mixed up in that. You sell out your future for instant gratification in the present. They're not living healthy lives, and they think that this is good for them. They're not pair bonding, and they're going from one dude to the next. This is it's damaging mentally, physically, in a variety of different ways, and it ultimately leaves them with nothing in the end. It's so funny. Mayumi often talks about eating Burger King. She genuinely likes Burger King. She mentioned, I remember one of the first comments she made on the channel. She mentioned that her husband brought her like a ghost pepper Whopper. It was like something around Halloween, and she said that it was delicious. And could you imagine, like, most American women would look at you like, "You, how dare you even consider bringing that peasant food to me?" This is while they're like eating crackers, cheese, and ham, like, because they don't have money to like actually eat out. And some of you are like, "Oh, crackers and cheese and ham are delicious." Bro, you can't live off that. Just because you like to live off that doesn't mean everyone wants to live off that. Yes, some guys will live off that, but that's how they're living. These women, they can't clean, they can't cook, and they've been raised by their mothers to think that these acts are oppressive. So to clean for yourself and to cook for yourself is oppressive, because that's what servants do. Cleaning and cooking for yourself is something you should not do as a grown woman, because that's what servants do. So that basically means that you see yourself as a queen and you see other people underneath you, right? Oh no, that's not what I'm saying. The people who do these jobs, they should be properly compensated. Okay, so how are you going? So if you don't cook and you don't clean for yourself, then you're always going to have to pay someone to do it for you. That's why you want to get a man then, right? Oh, so he can provide someone to do all of those things for you. And a real man does everything for you, right? And he asks for nothing in return. And what does he get? Your presence. Bye, Felicia. Foreign women are mocking broke women. Let me know what you think about everything we discussed here today. Oh, it was so much fun. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.